Thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stan Fleming, and on behalf of the University Place City Council, I would like to call this regular meeting of the UP City Council for Monday, February 2nd, 2026 to order. And before we get started, I'd just like to welcome to the chamber tonight both the Comfort family and the Broback family, who we will hear from more later this evening. So with that, Madam Clerk, you can go ahead and please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Figueroa.
Present.
Councilmember Boykin.
I'm here.
Councilmember Cunningham.
Here.
Councilmember Wood.
Present.
Councilmember Grassi.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McCluskey.
I'm here.
Mayor Fleming.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's move to item number 3, the Pledge of Allegiance. I would like to ask Mayor Pro Tem McCluskey, can you please lead us in the pledge to our flag?
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. With that, I'd like to move to item number 4, approval of the agenda. I'd like to call for a motion at this time to approve the agenda. With that, are there any objections to approving the agenda? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion.
I'd like to present a motion to approve the agenda as it stands.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded. I will assume that's all. With that, let's move to item number 5. And why we're all here, because we're Seahawks. It's like, go Seahawks, right? Woo-hoo. All right. We're so excited and proud of our team and look forward to even greater things here in the coming week and certainly next weekend. For tonight, we do have a proclamation from the City of University Place. Our recipients are Kathy and Kim Comfort. Kathy's dad was one of the original season ticket holders, and sadly he passed away, and those tickets have been passed down to her. She has been cheering on the Seahawks as a bona fide 12 since she was 11, and she's here tonight on behalf of the Seahawks to accept the proclamation. And to present that, I have asked Mayor Pro Tem McCluskey, who has been solidly behind getting the rest of us up and ready for the Seahawks. So, Madam, it's yours.
Great, thank you. All right, thank you. May I have the Comfort family come up? And anyone else who has hot gear on tonight. I see Mr. Eklund. I see a couple people over there. I see a few more people over there. And Leslie, come on up. We got a few council members still in their hawk gear. Those who are, please come up. You're very understated, Mayor, I must say.
Unfortunately, I'm going to stay right here.
Everybody come up. I'm just teasing.
Oh,
Come on up. But you have to stay on the bookend, okay? Because you took your hawk off.
Whatever you say, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem,
You
may
can't
I
take your
just...
hawk off ever, right?
Mayor Pro Tem, I'm going to just stand up behind you.
Okay. All right. So, to get us in the spirit of things, Mr. Eklund, come on up. We have the Seahawk chant, right? Right? Okay. So this side will say, go, see, and this side will say, and the council member practiced it downstairs in the atrium, so we should get it, right? Uh-huh. So on the count of 3, we have bigger voices. Yeah. Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Seahawks! Seahawks! Seahawks!
Woo! Go Hawks! All right. right. I couldn't wait to say that. I am so excited. When they won the Super Bowl last time, we had Richard Sherman come to our city when we had the sports card store down in Green Firs. He had 1,800 people in line. And he stayed until every one of them signed his photograph or whatever they had to sign. And when it was 10 o'clock, his guys go, Sherm, you can go. He goes, nope, I'm staying. So I thought that was really special that Sherm came to our town after the Super Bowl. And the city at that time gave him the Seahawk Proclamation. And I presented it to him at the signing. Because I'm sure it would be hard-pressed to get him here for a council meeting. But anyway, wow, what a legacy you guys have. Was that since the founding of the Seahawk team? Wow.
My dad was the original season ticket.
Wow,
That is
pretty
so
cool.
awesome.
I'm going to have you say a few things after I read the proclamation, if you don't mind. Sure. Okay. Whereas the Seattle Seahawks have displayed unmatched determination, unity, and excellence throughout the season and seasons, rising to every challenge with the heart, grit, and resilience that define the 12s. And whereas the team's relentless pursuit of greatness has electrified fans across the Pacific Northwest and beyond, igniting a spirit of pride, camaraderie, and unshakable belief. And whereas on this historic occasion, the Seahawks have earned a decisive victory, advancing them to Super Bowl 60, right? A triumph with highlights that their exceptional athleticism, strategic excellence, and steadfast teamwork. And whereas the loyalty and passion of the 12s have once again proven to be a powerful force, lifting the team, filling stadiums and homes with thunderous energy, and embodying the soul of the Seahawks football. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed that today shall forever be remembered as a day of celebration, unity, and victory for all those that bleed blue and green, proclaimed by the City Council of the City of University Place on February 2nd, 2026.
Well, we're just proud to be 12s. We're proud to represent the Seahawk fans. 12 years ago today, the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, and I was able to be there with my son. Kim's also been to a Super Bowl, so we've made it to 2 of the 4. And thank you. That's awesome. It's great. It's great for the community. It's great for unity. It's great for, like you said, camaraderie. It's wonderful. Thank you.
We've both been huge football fans. Our kids love football. It's a big part of our lives. We've got 2 friends who have joined us with season tickets, and we go to the games together, and it's just been a great family experience. And I loved football growing up and was a Seahawk fan, and I'm so blessed that my wife loves the Seahawks too. So it's something that we have treasured together. We love University Place. We moved here in 1996. It'll be 30 years in April. We really like this place. It's been a great place to raise our kids.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
May you continue that lovely tradition in your family forever. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. I'm going to make your reindeer ears up here.
Let it be so.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's a new request.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, my Lord. Okay, again, thank you again so much for that. All right, let's move to item number 6, which is public comment. On public comment, we are in that portion of the agenda. This is an opportunity for members of the public to provide comments to the City Council about any item that's not appearing on the agenda or on the consent agenda. You know, for those who are listening in, the instructions on how to participate are shown on the screen that you're currently watching. And with that said, Madam Clerk, do we have anyone on the internet?
I don't see anyone online, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Then we will go to those in the chamber, and tonight I'd like to welcome Dingle Sandhu. Yes, ma'am.
Dimple.
Dimple. I thought it said Dingle. I apologize. So, Dimple, please come on up. And welcome.
Hi.
Please have a seat here. If you can talk closely into the mic, you'll have 3 minutes. Just, if you would, just state your name and address for the record, and then 3 minutes to share your thoughts.
Sure. My name is Dimple Sandhu. I live at 3413 69th Avenue Court West, University Place. Postal code is 98466. And I'm here in support of the Arts and Culture Committee. I've been living here for about 3 years now, and one of my passions is diversity, equity, inclusion, and I feel that with a committee of arts and culture, you'll give people that don't have a voice through inclusive art initiatives. It also creates a more vibrant community, and it draws in business, it draws in new people that want to live here, and I think University Place is amazing, and it just has the potential to be like even better, like the place that everybody talks about, wants to live in, be a part of, you know, the first choice when people are like, where should we live, where should we start our business? And I think putting together a committee, or a commission, for arts and culture would greatly benefit University Place and would definitely drive people to be here. I'm really excited about putting together, potentially working with the commission as a volunteer, of course, initiatives that are, that promote inclusivity, that celebrate different cultures. I think I'm working with Denise Mikulski, and we put together an initiative actually of the different throughout the year, the events, the initiatives that can be proclaimed and celebrated, mostly by bigger cities, but I think it'd be great to have that here as well, and be known for that. Differentiate ourselves from different towns like Fircrest, Fife, instead of being, Tacoma's partner, or a neighbor, or the neighbor of Tacoma, Tacoma would be our neighbor. Like, let's change that dynamic. So.
Okay. Thank you so much. I love your ideas. And I apologize on your name, Dimple, but thank you. I won't make that mistake twice. Okay. I'd like to welcome also now Dan, and Dan, if I mess this up, I apologize also. Novogruski. Awesome. Thank you so much. Again, if you would, Dan, just state your name, address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes also, please.
My name is Dan Novogruski. My address is 9415 Columbine in University Place, Washington. I've been coming here regarding a concern we've had with a neighbor disrupting the community. Some pretty rough stuff. Wasn't able to make it on the 20th with the Tuesday switch, so it's been about a month. When I was last here, I was worried about front yard versus backyard problems, and it seems to be the case. A little while ago, an email was passed around I got to look at that had some photos of the property that we're concerned about, 5502 Briston Wood, owned by Gerald Lucas. And it was photos of only the front yard taken from the street. I'm guessing from within a vehicle based on the height and the distance, but I'm not there. And it shows the front yard torn up, but better than it was. And it shows vehicles there that shouldn't be there, a giant commercial vehicle, other things. But the front yard pictures look a little better, and there's nothing really relating to the rest of the property. And sure enough, that note said these were all these things that were done, mainly in October and November, and oh, aren't we super active, haven't we done a lot? But nothing new has happened, and now it's Groundhog Day, and I think that's ironic and adorable, but infuriating for some people. Yeah, and we're back in a 7-year problem on Groundhog Day where the real problem, running a junkyard out of his property in a residential zoned neighborhood, hasn't been touched because that's harder to touch. And I wonder, because I still don't see any activity where code enforcement, Melanie and her team, make an appointment with University Place officer to examine the fullness of the property. I've heard people come back and say, oh no, everything's fine, it's all registered in his name. But he's complaining to people, anyone who listened to him, that we're interfering with his auto sales business. I think it would take effort to address the fullness of the problem, but it can be addressed. If you have a broken taillight and you get a ticket for it once, does that mean you're immune to getting a ticket on that same problem for the rest of eternity if you never fix it? It's been several months. He still has that commercial vehicle sitting there. It's some sort of crazy satellite truck. I don't even know what it is. And all these other things, all this trash, refuse, tire piles, all this stuff attracting vermin, and the abusive behavior is escalating, if anything else, threatening neighbors. I'm here without my teammate today because whenever she talks about it, she goes back into that place where she feels it. And I don't want her to have to do that. That is horrible to put her through. And she taking a break. Good. But it's not just a front yard problem. It's an entire property problem. It's serious and it needs to be addressed. It's been 7 years. There are things that can be done. Please do what can be done. I heard a buzzer.
Yeah. Dan, I know you may not have gotten the feedback that you were expecting from the city, but I can assure you, and I'm not saying this just for myself, I'm saying it for several of the council members here, that message that we received a couple of months ago, maybe a month ago, was heard loud and clear. And now, we are working with the staff and we're working towards a solution. So just want to let you know that your presence and your comments have not gone ignored. Okay? Thank you. Okay. Seeing that there are no other folks for public comment, let's at this time move to the consent agenda, which is item number 7. At this time, I'll call for a motion to approve the consent agenda. And are there any objections to approving the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded, and hearing no objections, the motion passes unanimously. Let's move now to council considerations tonight. And the first one on our agenda is for Homestead Park, the renaming the proposal. For our staff report, we have Jack Eklund, our Public Works Director. Jack?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'm Jack Eklund, Public Works Director, and tonight I'm bringing to you for consideration a resolution to rename Homestead Park to Broback Homestead Park in recognition that the park is located in the land that originally housed the Broback Homestead and to honor the contributions that the Broback family had made to our community. This request for this name change was initiated by the University Place Historical Society It has been reviewed and recommended for approval by our Parks Advisory Commission and has been previously studied by City Council. In your packet, you'll find a proposed resolution for the renaming. I would like to point out that if approved, the renaming would take effect upon adoption. However, it is recommended that any revisions to the physical revisions to the signage of the park would be updated in conjunction with the ribbon cutting for the upcoming planned park renovation project. And then this concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, are there any questions from council at this point? Yes, Councilmember, or Mayor Pro Tem McCluskey.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Would this action also include the historic plaque?
That's
historical plaque. I know it's not written in here because it's kind of codified, but would that be, is there a separate council action that needs to be done for that piece? Because I know in the discussion and some of the minutes review, that's what...
So that would be, and my understanding, that's more of an administrative function. It wouldn't be we understand the direction we see from council on that, but that wouldn't be something that's part of this action.
Right. I just want to make sure that
we would still do that at this park as well as others.
Right. Excellent. Yep. Like that. Thank you. And then the second question I have is in the naming of this proposed council action. Do I need to put, does it need to be restating the renaming, or can it just be as written?
Oh,
so the resolution adopting renaming of Homestead Park.
I think that because the action itself is within it, so I think you're covered.
So we're covered on that?
You're covered because the action itself is within it, as Mr.
Just double checking, because sometimes they're more detailed than that.
Yeah, no, the title of the resolution was intentionally kept that particular way, recognizing that the meat of it would be down below and recognizing that it gave council flexibility depending on what it chose with its various choices tonight.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other? Okay, with that, we will open it up to public comment. And tonight we have, get to my next list out here. We have Jill Sue Brobat. If you would please, for the record, state your name, address, speak closely to the mic, and you'll have 3 minutes.
All right. Hi, I'm Jill Sue. I live in Balta, Washington, 15008, 92nd Place Northeast. And I am here on behalf of my sister Heidi, who is out of town and not able to be here. She has been spearheading this since the beginning, along with the Broback family, extended family. This is something that, really means a lot to us. So, statement from Heidi Broback Roundtree before the final vote. I was contemplating more about why the names on parks have so much meaning to me. I think it ties us to our roots and communities. What meaning would Apple Orchard have? Every time I drive by the current Apple Orchard, I think about the Currans in their field and walking by that orchard before it was a park every day on my way to school. And side note, I remember feeding the horses, so I would walk by as well. If they just called Colgate Playground the playground, what meaning would that have? I love calling it Colgate Playground and Park because I went to school with the Colgate family and it stirs up all kinds of memories. I believe naming the park Broback Homestead Park will tie people from so many generations back to their own roots. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, no questions this evening, but thank you so much. Okay. Next, we have with us Larry Storsett.
Good evening. I'm Larry Storsett, Broback. I live in Gig Harbor, Washington, 7507 Soundview Drive. I am here as the grandson of John and Anna Broback, and I'm joined here tonight by my cousins in support of renaming of Homestead Park to the Broback Homestead Park. I would like to acknowledge the support of the University Place Historical Society and the Park Department in this effort to culminate with the renaming of the park. John and Anna purchased the Broback property in 1931 along with my uncle Bert Broback. The property is referred to as the Broback Homestead, where John and Anna and their 4 daughters and 3 sons lived. Over the next 40 years, there were 20 grandchildren who were raised on the property, 15 of those grandchildren attending University Place elementary schools, Curtis Junior High School, and all graduating from Curtis High School. My brother Carmen and my cousin Barbara were in the inaugural graduating class of 1962. And I would like to thank the City Council for bringing this name change to a vote this evening. It would be a great honor to our families and to Art Broback, in particular on his birthday. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. That is all we had signed up tonight for public comments. So with that, we will close public comment and we will move to council considerations. And with that, I will request a motion to approve.
Okay. I'll move to adopt a resolution renaming Homestead Park as stated.
Second. Thank you. It has been properly moved and seconded to move this initiative forward. With that, we'll open for council comments. Is the floor, any council members having any comments? Let's start with Council Member Grassi, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I just want to say what a tribute to legacy. Legacy matters, and I think it's an honor to be a part of a city that cares about that. And thank you for all of your hard work and all of the time that you've put into this project, the UP Historical Society. As someone who loves this city passionately, I just am so grateful for all of your work to make our city richer. And I think legacy is really important. And so I just commend you for all of the work. And thank you for bringing this forward. And his birthday is today? Is that accurate? Wow. I love when things, yeah.
That's right.
I love when things line up like that. So special. So it's been an honor to get to know your family this way and to learn more about our city's history. And we're all better for it, and all of those watching as well. So I wanted to say thank you. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to say, first, I really appreciate the comments about, the current apple orchard versus the apple orchard and Colgate Park. You're right. It makes a difference. It adds the history, the personality, the legacy to the naming. I'd also like to thank Jack and the Park Commission for the work they did, and the UP Historical Society, and of course the Broback extended family for all the work you did to bring this forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem McCluskey.
You knew I was going to say something.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited that this is before council tonight. As all the thank yous have been stated for the legacy, and happy heavenly birthday to Art, and comments by Councilmember Wood. I also like to give a head nod to Councilmember Boykin, who was my sidekick and painstakingly reviewed my PowerPoint presentation, which I so appreciated. A great editor, to keep my feet on the ground as I'm visioning all of this, and to Mr. Eklund and the park, and hopefully if this passes, I would give my thanks up front to going forward with all of our parks and looking at it for the historical value of it, because it's so important to remind us all about our roots when we step onto those really hallowed grounds that has helped our citizens grow and eventually, create this visioning of becoming a city. It's all throughout the 8-mile radius of our city. And we need to look at that and with the new perspective, with the mirror, so that we can always be reminded that this wasn't an easy road. This had joys, but it also had pitfalls, but we persevered and we survived. And so this is a continuity. I keep going back to the movie Roots and how important that movie was to demonstrate, the history and the evolution of time. So this is a great step in that direction. So I'm excited to be able to be part of this tonight. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Figueroa, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, finally, everybody gets to know what Homestead belongs to. Seriously, I mean, you make the point very well, and that is that it was somewhat of unknown of a homestead, and it's good to put the name to the actual homestead. And I think that this also highlighted something that we should have done before, and hopefully we'll accomplish this, and that is having some kind of historical plaque for each park. How do we get it? What do we have it? What's there and all that? A little bit more than just a name. I think that's really important to have some history behind some of our parks that are visited by thousands of people each year, to give them an education about the history of the town that they live in. And hopefully maybe even the kids will learn something. They hang out at the parks. But certainly it's well deserved. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I love it, absolutely love it when the plan comes together. And to the Broback family in particular, really love when the plan is executed well, because the sincerity of what needs to be accomplished is what's coming from the heart. Thank you so much for the things that you have provided the City of University Place prior to us having a moment to affirm that. Thank you for all the ways in which you've contributed to this city, the legacy of the family, and the expectation of how you've continued to sow into this community. It is an exciting time when leadership steps up and says, this is who we are, this is who we've been. We want to make sure we affirm that in terms of our past as well as our present. So just really appreciate what has happened, and really excited about what can happen if we get the right vote. Heidi, thank you so much in your absence for leading a really wonderful, energetic effort. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Boykin. Councilmember Cunningham.
Yep, I just want to affirm what all of my colleagues have said. And for me, I think it's a little bit slightly more special just because we got the ball rolling on the Parks Commission where I originally was. So it was just great to be able to power that with you guys, hear your presentations, talk to my Parks colleagues, and just really do our due diligence and whatever it needed when we got back to the drawing board, and just doing the due diligence. So it's exciting for me to be here on the other side to push that through. And I'm excited and honored to be here with you guys, and just to watch you guys, the fortitude is amazing. And I'm excited that you guys get to be on the receiving end of something special. So yeah, I just want to affirm that, and it's an honor to be on the beginning stages of it, and then now on this other side of it. So exciting times for you guys, and such a legacy that your guys' family has for the city. It's great to watch all of you guys come, and even Historical Society, and just everything the questions you guys have stayed really committed to the process, and asked the questions, public comment at both sides here and at the commission. So just great strength that you guys definitely exhilarated, and it's exciting, and I'm sure the park commissioner is going to be excited too on the other side. So thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Cunningham. Any other comments? I've seen that was that a hand up down there?
Oh, no.
If you move, this is like an auction, we're going to call on you. Okay. Okay, seeing that there's none, I just want to wrap up with a few comments of my own to the Broback family. Just thank you so much for bringing this initiative forward. I know it's been a long road for your whole family to go through. It's hard to imagine that you're finally here, at the culminating moment. We often talk about how important the roots are to our community, and your family is one example of how important that is and how deep it is. Just remembering and honoring a pioneer family that was here long before incorporation, and how you've all been very steadfast in your loyalty and support to this community. So thank you so much for that contribution. You know, I just want to add, and I know the Mayor Pro Tem alluded to it a little bit, and that is, you know, this initiative has really caused us to rethink all of our parks. I know the Mayor Pro Tem and I have had several conversations, and our goal is to bring forth at some point a request that we should just look at all our parks, you know, and look at the history behind those parks. And, you know, are they named appropriately? Great. And if they're not, you know, what should they be? What would be appropriate? So again, thank you for your persistence. Thanks for being here tonight. With that, I'm going to close council comment, and I would take a vote. Did you raise your hand? Second option?
No, I scratched my head.
That's okay. With that, I'm going to ask the Madam Clerk, please call a roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Figueroa?
Yes.
Councilmember Boykin?
Yes.
Councilmember Cunningham?
Yes.
Councilmember Wood?
Aye.
Councilmember Grassi?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McCluskey?
Yes.
Mayor Fleming?
Aye.
Mayor, vote result 6 ayes. Motion carries.
Congratulations, family. Okay, that was joyous.
I just want to know where the Bropack party is going to be.
You're going to want to
We shall all be.
Did you say in the barn?
Very good.
We'll have to notice it, so because I'm sure all the council members will be there.
Mayor?
And I can bring cake.
Mayor?
Then we're definitely having a party. Okay. With
Mayor?
that, yes,
I
ma'am.
just need to correct the vote result. 7 ayes. Motion carries.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I thought I heard 7 also. So. Thank you.
She didn't count yours.
Oh, you ignored me. Okay. All righty. Still a majority, so I like that. All right, let's go to item number 8, the city manager and council comments and reports. With that, we'll start with our own city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. There is one item. I'm happy to report that the wayfinding signs that the council approved to go forward on, all those signs have been installed and they're in. So 5 directional signs and 6 district signs. I will tell you where those are. The directional signs, Grandview and 35th, Bridgeport and 37th, 40th and Drexler, Bridgeport and Cirque Drive, and also Bridgeport across from Fred Meyer. These are the unlit, but they're directional signs. They have arrows directing to various places, parks, etc. And then we have district signs. You know, we have 3 business districts: Northeast Business District, the 27th Business District, and the Town Center Business District. And all 3 districts have now have 2 signs each, 1 at each end, or close to 1 at each end, and those are lit, internally lit, and hope you get to see those. But as of today, all the signs are in. The project that the council greenlighted almost 2 years ago, it was funded primarily by ARPA funds, with a little bit of city funds. It took 9 months of design, planning, and outreach, and we started the construction last spring through the summer, and then we just recently completed the final installation, I think last week. So I'm happy to report that we can close that project out and enjoy the new signage, which is now going to identify the areas you're in much more clearly to those visitors and residents that are here. So, thank you.
Thank you. I know when we look at those at night, they're beautiful. So, thank you so much. Okay, with that, let's then proceed then to council comments and reports, and we'll start tonight with Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to say that I had a call today from a citizen regarding those signs, and they just said, I just want you to know how great they look. And I was driving by, so I thought I would call right now and let you know. So I don't know, hopefully they didn't crash or anything, but I just got it. So thank you. They look excellent and pristine, and I was happy to get that call. It's February, and I'm excited that we have another opportunity to partner with Congresswoman Strickland Strickland and her project with Valentine's to Veterans. There is a drop-off location right here in our atrium, so it's a wonderful way for kids, if you have a classroom or a family that want to participate, drop those off right here at City Hall, and her office will get those mailed out. But it's such a wonderful way to honor those in service. I just want to highlight a couple of things that I was able to do. Our Association of Washington Cities Action Days down in Olympia, I got to attend that with Councilmember Boykin and Mayor Pro Tem McCluskey, and those are wonderful days to interact also with leaders across our region, but also we had important meetings. We met with every one of our representatives, Representative Dan Bernowski, Representative Levitt, and Senator Nobles. Those were all productive meetings. I don't want to take any other words from my colleagues that they might share. But you know, it's just wonderful that we have such a great working relationship with our representatives, and that, yes, it was great to see them in action there and to be in their offices, but really they're accessible to us every day. And it's really kudos to staff and to this council that we've created such a great working relationship with them to be able to converse back and forth and really bring our community's needs right to the forefront. We have our legislative priorities, which they were all very interested to hear and act upon. I also want to thank Eric Faison, who worked right on the spot for some concerns right as we were there, and advocating for our city in real time, submitting amendments. And thank you to Senator Nobles for being so welcoming to those edits and suggestions for our city that will be a benefit. So it was a wonderful time. Also attended the Pierce County Economic Forecast Breakfast along with Mayor Fleming and Councilmember Boykin and other members of our staff and economic development team. It's so important as we, in these challenging times financially, that we have a really strong understanding, comprehensive understanding of the financial picture, the economic picture in Pierce County. And that every year is a great opportunity for us to really gain insight and to learn, and to also be able to have really good subject matter experts speak to the economic forecast. And so when we can take that back and make it a benefit to our city, it's very valuable. So I always love attending that. I also participated as part of the elected leadership group of the URA, United Regional Approach to Homelessness. Again, I'll be reporting out more on that, I think maybe at our upcoming retreat or farther along, but it is a united regional approach with Pierce County, 11 jurisdictions represented currently, as we work towards those that are currently unhoused in Pierce County. So I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem McCluskey for being involved in the point-in-time count. Is that correct? You participated in that. So it's just it's important work, and we get a little bit better every day, and to do it alongside other jurisdictions, bigger, some smaller, same size as us, is really important. I also want to say I had the opportunity in the last couple of weeks to, I think, have 5 different constituent meetings from folks that reached out to me via email and phone, and you know, various concerns in our city. And I love meeting with people face to face. So if you do need to get a hold of me, my city email, my city phone is a great way to do that. Always happy to meet. And each of those conversations have been, you know, beneficial. So, and working towards other things. Last but not least, small business spotlight. As promised, every council comment I will be highlighting small businesses. As we, several of us attended the ribbon cutting for Swank. Mayor Pro Tem was there and cut the ribbon, and Councilmember Cunningham and Boykin. And so I have 2 spotlights, but first is our Swank boutique, and I will spare you showing you the pants that I did purchase, but they're so cute. They're they're open, they're across the street, and it's such a great quality boutique to have in our city. So the owner Angela said to me, "I'm so happy it's February, because for retailers, small business, January is a horrible month," and so she's happy that February is here, and happy that the ribbon is officially cut. And so go visit Swank Boutique. They have men and women's clothing. And then my second small business highlight is Leah with Balloon Masters. Leah is right here in University Place, and for years she has been supplying wonderful balloon designs to our community, and you can see one of her creations right now in our atrium on the I Love UP sign for Seahawks. So thank you to Leah and Balloon Masters. What a wonderful small business to have in our community. And that's all I have, Mayor.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much. Councilmember Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to just
report something that is probably concern of interest to many citizens of our community. It's not a direct city relationship, but the Lewis Army Museum. For those of you who may not have heard, about a year and a half ago, the Army came out and said, we would like to close 29 museums around the country, including the Lewis Army Museum, which would have left the nearest museum to us down in Oklahoma. And there's obviously a lot of concern, a lot of local elected leaders and citizens and retirees engaged on this issue, and the Army has now half-stepped backwards and said they're going to suspend the project for now. It's not dead, but they're stepping back and saying we're not pushing forward with it right this moment in time. So that is good news, and I just wanted to encourage folks who, first, thank people who advocated for keeping the museum open, and also, to quote an Army phrase, keep up the fire because it's not dead yet. So, thank you. That's all I have, Mayor. Oh, wait, one more thing. Go Hawks.
That's right.
Love it. Councilmember Figueroa.
No comments.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to affirm the opportunity to get out and to really engage, particularly, as had been mentioned, for connecting with our representatives. The reason why that's that much more important, as you know, we're in the middle of the 60-day session. So there's not only just robust activity, but with a shorter session and the expectation of it really to be affirming a supplementary budget effort. It is really clear the service and intentionality that our representatives give when they provide us face-to-face opportunity and engagement. So just wanted to make sure that that shout-out had been double appreciated. And also want to shout out Eric Faison. There were some things that we had hoped to be able to be really responsive to as a result of some conversations, and we were able to move those things forward based upon his availability and responsiveness. So just really want to appreciate him as well. Eric Faison, for those that are not familiar, is our assistant city manager who does really, really amazing work. With that, also wanted to just affirm, absolutely had a great time at the Washington Association of Cities conference, a wonderful conference that was held in Lacey, Washington. And the best effort always is being able to engage with other public officials across the state and really affirm the things that we're seeing that is intentional as a result of similar cities, as well as cities that are very different. But the most important thing is the agenda centered and the expectation of what we can do differently to just make a better opportunity for us across Washington State as we get an opportunity to serve in our respective purviews. Wanted to also call out the Tacoma-Pierce County Chamber. Excellent always is annual economic forecast. As has been mentioned by Councilmember Grossi, the opportunity to get the expertise and the insight on what's happening specifically in Pierce County when it comes to the financial impact and expectation of what we can anticipate, and then really getting the chance to, hours later, in this case, to check to see if those national speakers were actually correct.
You fact-checked.
It was a good situation. Let's just say everything at this point still aligns. And then lastly, I do want to call out two more things. Had a wonderful time at Swank Boutique. Just absolutely the intentional way in which this type of fashion can be expressed, and through the products, and then the service that appears to be absolutely quintessential along with the product. I think it's going to be a wonderful experience in one more way in which we elevate the experience in the city of University Place that makes University Place still that city of destination, real intentional. So just shout out to the economic development team for making that a reality, and everyone involved with the process that always brings new businesses, particularly the ones that bridge gaps to City of University Place for just a better experience overall. And then lastly, had the pleasure of providing service to University of Washington Tacoma. I say service, but it really was just joy working with on the internal competition proposal that gave students an opportunity to really vie for distinguishing themselves for an overall international competition. And so being invited to be a judge for the effort is always welcomed, always appreciated. So that's all I have. Mayor, just thank you so much again for the opportunity to share most zealously about the things that are going on in the City of University Place and the region as a council member perspective.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Councilmember Boykin.
You bet.
Councilmember Cunningham.
Yeah, hi everybody. So it has been a little of a quiet week for me. I have had many conversations about the levy. That's come up a lot for me, so I'm glad that I was well educated about what's going on, especially as a parent in the school. So there's been a lot of constituent meetings about that, a lot of coffees at Happy Duo this last week, a few city staff that I've gotten to connect with and just have some one-on-ones with, so it's been pretty fruitful just as I continue my first half of my freshman year. I also attended Sergio Flores. He just now got appointed to Tacoma Municipal Court, and so that was his ceremony last week, and it was great because I think that, you know, making sure that we're connecting with one another in that intergovernmental phase is important, just to have that camaraderie, just as Grassi and Boykin has named, that it's important that we support one another. Because we're neighboring cities, and even though Tacoma is our neighbor, it matters about our judicial system. And so it was great to see the representation that he's going to bring, and to see all the other electeds in the room and being able to share and support that for him. And then, of course, attending Swank, that was great. They have a really great coffee. Fresh Panera Car smells so good, guys. So you should go over there and get some. There's a good deal. And Angela's great, and I've got to talk to her offline a little bit the last couple of days, and so it's been really fantastic to just see her excitement, and just sharing it on our socials, people asking where the address is, being really thrilled about it. So that's exciting to be able to power, you know, great boutiques, plugging that they sell men's clothing, I think is a big deal. So make sure that you guys know that, because I think that when you hear boutique, you think female, but that is not the case here. So it was exciting to be able to support that and attend my first ribbon cutting as a colleague. So that's been great, and that was a great place to start off. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilmember Cunningham. Mayor Pro Tem McCluskey.
All right, thank you. Well, I guess with Swank in town, we'll be pretty swanky. It's really a delight. I previewed it prior to going to the ribbon cutting, and I got a chance to look at all the high quality clothes that she's offering there, and as well as she also included the high quality and really unique patterns and designs that for men. You know, typically you go into a men's clothing store and it's kind of boring, but I found some, you know, pretty nice things that are, you know, a little more on the creative side. And so, and for a older woman, you could look pretty swanky coming out of hers, and not so that you don't look as dated as with some of the clothes that I had in my closet. I looked at her clothes and I looked at my clothes in my closet, and I'm going, I think I need to up the game here a little bit. We had, as you know, our colleagues that had attended the ribbon cutting, and the Economic Development Commissioner, Jason Light, was there. Our Planning Commissioner, Adria Buchanan, was also there too, representing a couple of our commissions. And so I hope that they succeed, because they're a very fun and delightful store, well merchandised. So hopefully it will be a success in our city. And as Councilmember Grassi mentioned, I did participate for a few hours in the point-in-time count. That was very emotionally impactful. It took me. It's really challenging to see people in that condition. And some of them have hope and others don't. And others just kind of acquiesce to where they're at in life. And every moment of every day, they struggle as to how they're going to survive. I don't wish that on anybody. And it was hard for me to process it all, because they're out there on the streets right now, struggling and suffering. Everybody who is a human should be sheltered, should have a place of warmth, should be able to know where their next meal is coming from. And hopefully, with all the things that we're doing collectively to this present moment, we can come to some sort of resolve where if you're a human being, you will be treated humanely.
and not treat it as a piece of rubbish. So, I never have been part of a point-in-time count or engaged with anyone who is homeless. I usually sort of walk really quickly and fast to get beyond them. I will reflect on that the next time I come up and meet somebody who is homeless on the streets. So on a positive note, I was able to attend the Up for Art meeting. They have it every month. And they're talking about going after some grants and also including some visual arts. So they're on a really exciting trajectory to help bring arts. And I talked to them somewhat about culture and about the possibility of having a art and culture commission if the council so chooses. And they're so excited about that, to have additional support and also ideas and a pathway forward to connect with a government agency as they move forward in their work and endeavor. The AWC, as my colleagues mentioned, was great and wonderful. And also I'll add to hear the state and federal statements about the state of the budget and transportation and the funding for the transportation. A shout out to our traffic officer. I go to Community Connection Place on occasion, and I went there a couple days ago, and it was mentioned that there's always these red and blue flashing lights in front of my place. And she goes, I wonder what message this sends. I go, it's a good one. So kudos to our officer. Yeah, so he's working out there. He's working hard. He's in front of Alicia's place at Danbridge and also CCP, and I'm sure a lot of other places. So mind the speed in UP. I'd like to give a special shout out to Dimple Sandhu, who is in our council chambers tonight. I worked with her on several different projects, and I'm excited that she had come and given comments about the Art Commission. And I want to give her a special shout out for all the behind the scenes work that she does, without any consideration of getting any accolades or rewards. So thank you for all of your effort. You're a true servant leader. And with that, I would be remiss. We have a Hawk Spirit contest in the city. So pictures could be taken, and our mayor will be there. I'm sure you'll talk about it in your comments.
Please.
Oh, okay.
You're
So
a
pictures.
Hawk Spirit tonight.
That's right. So if you see anybody with the hockey spirit, you got to take their pictures of their house or their blue and green. Collectively, I hear that Sunset Primary is especially hawkish, and they won our last contest that we had about 12 years ago. So you got to step up the game to beat them. And with the pictures that will come forward, our mayor will select who has the hawkish spirit and will be recognized in front of our council as we had done before. So with that, go Hawks!
I'll make a note that you are a forerunner here.
All right.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem. You definitely have the spirit here. Before I make my comments, I do want to thank the Mayor Pro Tem on her comments about the point-in-time count. For those who don't understand or know what that is once a year in all of Pierce County, the entire county, there's this one moment in time in which volunteers go out and count all the homeless residents that are residing within the county, and it goes through the day and the night. They run 24 hours on that operation. You know, I had the opportunity several years ago to participate in that, and to her point, it's a life-changing, game-changing, emotional experience if you haven't had that opportunity to do that. And so, to any of the council members, that door is always open. And for next year's point in time count, if you haven't had the opportunity, I would really encourage you to just do it at least one time. Just do it one time. And I think that would make a huge difference. The things I just want to share with council tonight, one is I had the opportunity this past week to support Representative Levitt. She had a bill before the House that was being passed, or being heard, I should say, and that bill would require the notification of city leadership, including the electeds, when a sexually violent predator is released into the community. That bill, interestingly enough, if you read the previous laws that we had on the books, it does not require DSHS to notify, and they made that clear during the hearing. They don't have to notify presently, but this bill would actually change that requirement. So I hope that bill continues with its support and passes. The second thing has been talked about, the Economic Forecast Summit. Again, well attended, well presented. I'm glad it got fact checked, so thank you very much. The two takeaways that I got from the summit was, one is Washington State is very stable and how it's doing economically. When you look at all the questions that people have about downturns of economies, upturns of economies, we're pretty flat if you look at it. And then the second take home I got was Washington State was the second most expensive state to live in the entire country. So that was a real kind of an eye-opener for myself in terms of, I also thought we were somewhere in the middle, but we have migrated to be right there at the top on that one. The last two things I just want to share with council. One is we have our retreat in a few weeks coming up, and the Mayor Pro Tem and I have scheduled one-on-ones with each of the council members. We just are looking forward to hearing from you what your thoughts are, of what you feel are important as we move forward as a council. We want to make sure that those thoughts are integrated into all that we do as we go forward with that. And then lastly, on February 9th, and I'm going to look over at the city clerk, is it 11 o'clock in the morning, that we have the Northwest Medical Arts, a celebration of the Random Acts of Kindness, 2 o'clock. So if it's not on your calendars already, if you want to mark that at 2 p.m., they've invited City Council to come there for a celebration with them. Would love to see you all be there if possible. So with that, I have nothing further to add. Are there any other final alibis, comments? All right, seeing that, then thank you all again for your engagement and reports. It's much appreciated. Let's go ahead and recess at this time to study session. These are items in which the council will have the opportunity to study and discuss business issues with our staff for its consideration. Citizen comments unfortunately are not taken at this time. However, citizens will have an opportunity to comment on the following items at future council meetings. So with that, let's move to item number 10, which is the Arts and Culture Commission. I know we've heard some of that this evening. Excuse me. Already, I'm going to ask our staff, our City Attorney Matt Kaiser, and Public Works Director Jack Eklund.
I'll bat lead off. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Matt Kaiser, City Attorney. Before you tonight is a draft ordinance on something that council has talked about on a couple prior occasions. Council has discussed it previously under the purview of the Arts Commission. However, last week we received a request. How about maybe consider that to an Arts and Culture Commission? So what you have in front of you reflects that suggested change, and we'll talk some about that as we're walking through. This is the first time that council has seen proposed legislative markup that would reflect actual changes to the municipal code. As council may recall, taking a trip in the slight Wayback Machine, I think it's actually a year ago tomorrow when I was looking at my notes, council heard what was then styled as a legislative proposal to initially roll out the concept of an arts commission. Council, through the course of the last year or thereabouts, has identified a discussed a couple different models, composition, makeup, et cetera, function, scope. Included, do you bring that in-house? Do we have it, some sort of liaisoning out of house? If we did it in-house, what does that sort of look like, and how does that shape out? So what you have in front of you tonight is the first draft of an ordinance that reflects the culmination of a number of those discussions. And I want to walk council through at least the draft, and I'll refer to it generally as the high points associated with that ordinance, together with Mr. Eklund here, who, if council goes down this direction, I believe his department will be providing staff liaison support to that if that's where council goes with ultimate enactment. From a purely technical perspective, the ordinance that you actually have in your packet is actually relatively modest, but don't let its modesty be an understatement in terms of at least some of the aspirational hopes that council has voiced, because the idea is that it gives council the framework, has a jumping off point within the larger framework of the municipal code that the council already has. The first off is that this would establish, it has one of the new commissions. As council already knows, it has 4 commissions: the Planning Commission, the Economic Development Commission, the Parks Advisory Commission, and the Public Safety Advisory Commission. I tripped myself up there for a second because this would be the 5th commission in there. And part of the reason why I tripped myself up there is every of your other commissions in there has advisory as part of its name, with the exception of the Planning Commission. And one of the things that we recognized when we made that switch, from a purely acronym perspective, the thought is keep it as the Arts and Culture Commission rather than the Arts and Culture Advisory Commission. As my paralegal jokes, if you use the acronyms, it sounds like a hairball if you're trying to pronounce what that commission would actually sound like. That was my obligatory joke for the night. I'm done with jokes, judging from council's reaction. But the sense is that it would, like all the other commissions, be advisory in nature. Each of the commissions that are already existing in code already have a scope of work. The scope of work that we came up with, we actually didn't have to go very far for this one in drafting this. What we did is we actually went through to the original presentation materials from your February 3rd council meeting from last year, when it was first enrolled to council by the then sponsors, council members Wood and Mayor Pro Tem McCluskey. And we cheated. We literally pulled the PowerPoint. We took the language that was proposed from the scope, moved it over, put it in legal sound good phrases, and actually because it already sounded pretty good to begin with, and defined it that way. The one thing that we did catch, at least associated with the name, and it's something that we can certainly fix between now and the time of final action, is that part of the scope would advise the city council on matters of public art. The sense would be we probably need to add the phrase "and culture" in there if that's the direction that council wanted to go. The third thing was on membership. Council's discussion when we talked about this, I believe back in the September timeframe, varied in terms of what the membership on that would look like. And there was 2 components on the membership. The first was how many members, and the second is how to include the youth. The draft ordinance provided some degree of flexibility for council at setting the membership at between 7 and 11 members. This is a difference between the other 4 commissions, current 4 commissions, which set its members at 7 regular members, and then there's some other ex officio type members and the like. This gives council flexibility. Obviously, this suggestion, like any of the other ones, is obviously subject to where council direction may go in the course of the discussion. That's one of the points that certainly, from a staff perspective, we're interested in hearing where council feedback and where council's mind space is at. The other component is on youth membership. Council had expressed a very strong interest on making sure that youth membership was adequately accounted for. As it turns out, already within your code, you have a spot set aside for where youth is encouraged on the Parks Commission. So the sense was, well, we can just add the Art and Culture Commission in there as well. One thing that we had flagged when I believe we were talking about that in September, and certainly something that we had flagged about too, is unlike the other members of the commissions, with respect to the youth members, they're still at a 4-year term. So the sense was, well, we should probably think about modifying that term length. So this recommendation is changing the code while we're at it to extend that term to be through June 30th of a given year and put it as a 1-year term, which more or less aligns, we did it somewhat arbitrarily, but more or less aligns with the end of the school school district school year. And then it gives somebody a fresh start beginning on July 1st or whenever an appointment is subsequently made. And then identifying youth a little bit more fully as an individual having the voice of those that are, and I believe I put it in there, in the 15 to 21 year range. If council wanted to change that, council can certainly change that. It has its own code. And then there are other conforming amendments that are made along the way to essentially clean it up and go from there. That's all I had in terms of presentation materials. Before we turn it back over to council, I'll check in with Mr. Eklund just to make sure that we covered everything.
Yeah, the only other thing I want to mention is, the way Matt's drafted this, and he's mentioned a little bit too, it's really oriented toward flexibility for council because it's not prescribing a lot in this. It's giving the basically the authority to council to direct this commission to do whatever you want it to do in the framework of arts and culture, which I think, it's the framework where most of our commissions are already, but so much with art and culture, it's going to evolve over time, right? And in the interests of the community and of council. So I really, I appreciate the flexibility that Matt wrote in here. The other thing on the membership that we did discuss, I just want to bring that up, was the potential to have certain qualifications, whether it's a sitting artist or some other qualification. The way in this one here, it's silent on that. Once again, going toward flexibility toward how we want to do our recruitment process. So that can be addressed when we go out and solicit folks, and also in the selection, just like we've done with any of the other commissions. It will be kind of in with your interview questions and how you're doing selection. So we felt it a little more appropriate to leave it more flexible. However, I want to just bring it up again. If you wanted to put it more specific in here, it's easily added. But our recommendation is to stick with more flexibility.
So with that, we'll turn the matter back to council.
Thank you, Matt. Are there any questions or comments from council members? Councilmember Figueroa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think when it comes to the parameters for the age of the youth, I think that maybe we should consider high school, presently in high school, which is the 15th, or maybe 14, but between freshman and senior, because I think that anyone else can, as an adult, can volunteer and apply for the commission. And that way we really talk about youth. That's one thought. I'll be looking for comments from my peers. The other one would be 11, between the 7 and 11. That's really broad, and to me 11 just seems a lot. I think we should, the precedent is to have 7. I think that 7 has worked out really well over the years. It's hard to maintain, even get people to apply at 7. It's hard to get them there at the meeting and participate. I think when you start stretching to 11, I think that's just a lot. I think that there's more members being needed for volunteers to be needed for a particular project. Maybe the commission can put together some ad hoc committees that would include the public of some sort that would be more specialized, whether it be age or disabilities or something. But I think that it's too vague for me to say between 7 and 11, for the reasons I mentioned. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Figueroa. Councilmember Wood, please.
So, thank you, Mayor. First, with Councilmember Figueroa's comments about the age, I concur. I like the high school range, freshman to senior, for that one. I appreciate what you've done with the arts and culture, and just for the record, I do support the addition of culture in both the title of the commission and also where you proposed adding it to the legislation. And you asked about deliberately vague, and I support that as well, because I believe this commission should belong to, well, the council and the city, and just, where the art moves. No, just kidding. But I mean, there's so much variety to art. It could be, musical, it could be literature, it could be paintings, it could be mixed media, it could be all sorts of things. And I think if we get too restrictive, it could hamper that rather than enhance it. And those are my comments for now. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I concur with Councilmember Figueroa regarding high school or ninth grade. I don't know, obviously Curtis is a great example there. Junior high starts at ninth grade, so I think it should be by grade. But I am for a 2-year term for youth. I think if you have a youth that's this engaged and active, and I think 2 years would be an acceptable time. I mean, you get in a year and it's over in a flash. So by the time they have an opportunity to get their teeth and skin in the game, I think 2 years is a good idea. I like the idea of keeping advisory, as I've been able to serve on. I know, look at Matt's face at me. I saw the look. I know you don't agree with it. Those eyes spoke a lot.
I was already making notes.
But as I've been able to serve on the committee with Councilmember Boykin and Mayor Fleming, the advisory piece of explaining what a commissioner does is really important as people are asking questions on what do I do, how much responsibility do I have, and having that definition in the name of advisory really does help. I concur with Councilmember Wood about the flexibility and vague in nature. I like that. I'm not opposed to Arts and Culture Commission, but I guess I want a little bit more clarity on the culture piece. And I'm reading E here, it speaks to art displays, performances, buildings, a lot of art, but it doesn't speak to the culture piece. So as we're adding that in, how are we defining culture as decisions and advisory pieces of this commission? I think that's a question I have. I'm sure we all have different definitions of it as we do of art as well. So I think just a little bit, I know I'm contradicting myself when I say vague and flexibility, but as far as that culture piece, I just don't see it reflected at all in the definition. So I would love to see just a little bit more meat in that area, but thank you. That's all I have now.
So thank you very much for those comments. I have Councilmember Cunningham.
Yeah, so just to piggyback off Councilmember Grassi, I do agree with the culture piece just because it's very broad. It can mean a lot of things, and I think just being tighter on what that means exactly. I do agree with Councilmember Figueroa too on 11 is a lot, and I think if we're going to keep the same breadth and depth of our current commissions, managing 7 seems to be sufficient, and we want to have some level of consistency with our commissions and then the bodies that are present there, and I think it would just be more mindful of the ratios of who we have. For the age, 2 things. One, I do like that high school perspective, but I also think that we should still consider, I think that 21 is about the cutoff for college. And I do think that just because they're going into that higher education, that post-secondary piece, that might be still an element of maturity and determining what they want to do from an education perspective. And I think that it would lend some leadership opportunities. I think it lends some civic engagement opportunities. And I think being part of a commission just offers a lot of different perspectives. And I think that, pushing the limit to 21 is still within range of that post-secondary piece, not really capturing it as well when you're a freshman as you would for your first year of Tacoma Community College or UW-T. So I think that is something to consider just because it is an educational component, much like all the other commissions that we have. So I think that might be something just to consider. I do like what Councilmember Grassi said about the 2 years. I think there's a level of commitment with that, and a year goes by fast, especially when you're just getting going, and perhaps we can revisit that once things start to move and we realize that the attrition is high and then we're not getting the commitment. But that also cautions us to consider the time in the day that we would have that commission. There are some commissions that meet very early, some that meet in the afternoon. So if we are going to engage at a younger level, then we have to make sure that the time of this arts commission is not interfering with the school schedule, because they're not going to miss school to come to the arts commission. So I think that's something to consider. I know that all the commissions meet at different times, so we would have to be thoughtful about what time that is if we're going to engage youth for that. And then just the professional art perspective that Jack had brought up. I do think that this is a unique one. I mean, we are lucky on the Parks Commission to have Amy. Amy is very logistically adjacent to her profession, and that intersects into the Parks Commission, and it adds a different level of perspective. So I do think it'd be nice to have a guiding fixture of someone that just has that professional background to be able to sort of navigate, especially because this is going to be a new commission. that's going to offer a lot of different experiences, and then we'll want that youth to have some point of leadership to sort of navigate them through. So I do think that it would be nice to consider. It wouldn't be a deal breaker, but I think someone that has an interest in that, and of course they probably would most likely, probably wouldn't be as hard as we think, because why wouldn't you want to have an interest in art? I know that Amy has an interest in our parks, which is why she's a professional, whatever she does, that's, what is she, a landscape engineer? So I think that that's something that matters. And so just all those things into perspective. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilmember Cunningham. Mayor Pro Tem McCluskey.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. I concur with Councilmember Figueroa on a high school age. If it pushes to age 21, I don't really have any heartburn over that. But I would like it to be hopefully a student, or if they graduate high school, a 2-year term, but also have a passion and some level of expertise in art, whatever that art might look like or be. The scope of having 7 members on it makes kind of sense because it's more uniform with all the other commissions. However, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that 7 voting members, but then there's potential liaisons that we could have, like with the University Place School District. As I had talked to the Americans for Art, which I had sent each and every one of you all the information that I have received from this wonderful nonprofit that's based out of, she's based out of Boston. And on that is a interactive chart. It has 33 widgets. You click on the widget and a white sheet comes up, and on the white sheet you can click on other links and it goes to other documents of all the support. And whether it's public safety or economic development, they're always talking about art and culture. And for funding, it's art and culture. So culture would really dovetail well into University Place because we have the University Place Historical Society that deals with the cultural pieces of University Place and its values and how it transcends through time, but also it encourages and incorporates maybe the Pacific Islanders, opens it up, the Native Americans, and some of their culture and art, because art is tied to a lot of cultures. And so to dissect and separate them doesn't really make sense in the front end of things. When you go to Europe and you're looking at their art, you're not just looking at their art, you're looking at their culture, you're looking at their evolution, you're looking at their values and the society that has brought the art and the artists together to create things in their community. So I really believe that they're tied at the hip. So I strongly, with all those things I mentioned, would like the addition of culture part to it for that and other reasons, and also to have somebody who doesn't have to have a professional art expertise, but a high level of art expertise, maybe a couple of artists on the commission as well, and if not as a voting member, but certainly as a voice for as this commission is developing, to lay the specific groundwork that makes sense and will make it successful. And in my discussions with Michael from the Americans for Art, getting the school district involved is very strategic, and also it aligns with the transcendent of the art and that we're doing, and also the life of art and culture in our community. If you tie the youth into it, if you get the youth buy into it, it just creates a natural continuity of everything that that we're doing at especially for the ground roots level. And the other point I have, my last point, is that we have a Up for Art that has been around for years, but it's going through another infancy stage, and it's coming up and it's coming to life, and it's really exciting to see that organization resurrected. And so if we could think of a way to not name, Up for Arts, but saying that if there is an organization within our city, such as Up for Arts, that they're allowed to come into the commission meetings as a liaison, and to provide their, like what they're doing, give updates, to collaborate and coordinate the efforts of what the Art and Culture Commission is doing to what they're doing. And they are also aligning into the cultural components of that, and starting to look and include some of the visual arts and in dances. So with that, I'll end my comments for now.
Great comments. Thank you very much. Let's go to Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you, Mayor. To the point of culture being amended to be included in the naming of the commission, I think that's brilliant. I also think that it's one more way in which we're able to see that expansion is what's most important. To the comments more specifically that Mayor Pro Tem McCluskey made about the correlation and relationship to culture and art, I couldn't agree more. I think that what happens when we make room for the specific piece of culture and the expectation of making sure that it's also definitions that help us along, I think you'll find out that all of that to be true, how we look and interpret art being the eye of the beholder as we assess beauty, you'll see it's a much more comprehensive and holistic approach that creates product for the owner. I also think that regarding membership, that 2 years is a good idea, mostly because it supports the expectation about what can happen when you interject culture into the possibility of the art space. I think you'll get an opportunity to see not just a more serious intentional effort from those that you're looking for advisory support, but you'll also have a chance to see that special expansion in how they might contribute. To that extent, though, I think I'm on the other side about whether or not it should be limited to 7 members. I would lean toward more is better. Because you'd have 2-year terms, you'll also be looking for folks where the expectation of what they can contribute, in my view, to be that much more robust and impactful. The more that you have that has a 2-year term, the more you can expect for that group to have a better opportunity to provide advisory information that can be pertinent to the City of University Place. And the last thing that I would say is that regarding the high school effort, I'm certainly in the group of making sure that we're clear about what that resource group would mean. I looked at the definition and saw 15 on one end, 21 on the other. Wasn't sure if the high school effort, or at least name, was to say that they need to, at the very least, be in high school and should not be available to us once they would have graduated from high school. So I'm just not sure of how the high school component creates for us a clarity about what the actual membership descriptor would be. And I'm just inviting that as a consideration for what you might have had in mind in response to it, but I just wanted to make sure I raise issues so I could be clear about what that might mean.
Yeah, if I can, and if I can go back one point, at least as you're talking about 2-year memberships, that the limited term membership proposed 1 year in the ordinance, and then council's been talking about for 2 years, that would apply only to the youth member.
Okay.
With the regular terms otherwise being 4-year terms.
Gotcha.
So just making sure that we're on the same page on that.
We are now. Thank you for the clarification.
And the idea behind the age at 15 to 21 was using age as a proxy for grade.
Okay.
So do you say that they're entering the 9th grade, entering which grade, or just say, here's the age?
Got it.
You know, pick one.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I appreciate the, again, clarity.
I guess if we wanted to capture 9th grade, you maybe have to go to 14.
Maybe.
Getting pretty young.
Yeah.
It's not like, you'd probably be less likely to be successful, but I mean, at the interview, but if that's the intent, that's
we can take, yeah.
You would have it for me, but I was really, really small.
But either way is okay.
That concludes my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Boykin. Councilmember Figueroa.
Thank you, Chair. So, in listening to everybody, let me regroup on my initial statement about the youth and the high school and all that, because you know, you don't think about everything until you hear other people's comments. And what came about is again, the word youth. And I think somebody said it, I'm not sure who, but it started the process in my head, and that is, I think that, I think somebody said about maybe in college or something like that. I think it seems like the premise is to get youth. Okay, and I don't think it should be high school, whatever. It's just youth between, we can pick 15 or forget about, you know, we can say 16. I think 15 is getting pretty young, but I think that along the line be, you know, something like that to 21 and say that's the youth perspective, because it doesn't have to be in any educational institution, because there could be a nice young person that just graduates and they can't go to college for whatever reason. They're working here in town. They're trying to find themselves, to figure out what they should be doing, and give them the opportunity to volunteer to be on this committee for a couple of years, commission, I should say. And I think that really opens it up. And it shouldn't be whether they're in high school or in higher educational institution. But I do believe it should be 2 years, because it's not so much anything else, that most of what we do, what happens in the city, is mostly projects or direction about something. And by the time we give that, by the time the commission acts on it and studies it, puts it in a plan or whatever, and then it actually gets accomplished. It'd be nice for a young person to actually be able to stay on long enough to see something happen on their watch that got completed, and they can talk about it in an interview. And so I like those 2 years. I want to support that. I like the June part, just in case, nothing to go back to the high school, but if it happens to be a high school or even a community college or whatever, at least it lines them up for that particular young person to adapt better for what we're trying to do. I still think that, you know, the 7, it would be really good. And if there should be more, again, it doesn't prohibit the commission to appoint work groups, additional volunteers in the community to actually say maybe they lack certain expertise for some reason that they want to work on, or the city council has directed them to, and they want to seek that specialization in the community. I think that's up to them to do that, and they're allowed to. And that way, it goes a little bit more to catering to what the need of the community and the city council. And because part of my fear factor, and we've heard it here several times, is not much going on. We're bored, and you know what's going on, and I think this provides a way that if you start putting 11 people in there and we don't have a lot of projects or direction, you're going to see a lot of people just bored and complaining, which we had in some of our commissions several times. So I think this restricts that or prohibits that from happening. And just my last comment, and that is, I saw a D go to F, but not an E on the proposal, page 2.
Yes. I see that too.
Okay, just wanted to correct that. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Figueroa. Councilmember Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. So just want to weigh in a couple things on the culture piece again. For me, just what I was envisioning here was that,
I see what he's saying.
and actually, Mayor Pro Tem McCluskey said it very well, in that arts and culture are very closely related. You look at somebody's art, you're seeing their culture. But I'd envision, being having the ability to partner with other cultural organizations in the community, whether Historical Society, the Asia Pacific Cultural Center, or even the folks I mentioned at the last meeting, like the Northwest Chinese Writers Association. But that's both literary art and also a cultural heritage type organization. And so that's what I had envisioned. I don't know how you would write that specifically, but I think a statement that says something to the effect of what Mayor Pro Tem McCluskey brought up is that arts and culture, or art is a, lack of a better term, a picture of culture, of people's culture. And in the Northwest, we have a very diverse background of people and people who live here, so it'd be very good to be able to recognize all who are here. 2-year term, I've been sitting here thinking about it since it was brought up, and I'm not a big fan of the idea, and just the basic reasoning behind it is that, for adults, 2 years is, I think, a reasonable commitment. For youth, that's a long time. We'll also be effectively ruling out any high school senior who plans to go to college, unless they're going here locally, from applying for this position. I think a 1-year term suits the student life and where they're at in their life, I think, more reasonably. And I think it also broadens the leadership opportunities for youth in our community, because if we just say one person, can apply and you get it for 2 years and nobody else can for that same time window, I think that's I'm hopeful, and I guess I'm hopeful that we're going to have a bunch of youth wanting to apply. So if that's not the case, then obviously the same person could reapply for a second term. I don't see anything wrong with that. But that's my thoughts on the 2-year. I really appreciate Councilmember Cunningham's comments on youth up to 21 and how we have people in local community college who could contribute. I will say that I'm still leaning slightly towards the high school age people, but I'm not opposed. I think she brings up a very good point, and I think we should reflect on that a little bit longer. And finally, as far as 7 to 11, I am happy with 7 if that's where council wants to go. It does keep consistency through our council, and as Councilmember Figueroa brought up, they can always bring in local subject matter expert for any particular project they're working on as an advisor or whatever else they need to do. And I think that concludes my comments, Mayor.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Wood. Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to give a little perspective because I think Jack maybe just said like 14 would go down to 9th grade or something like that. I have the honor of serving on the SOTA School of the Tacoma Arts Board and IDEA School of Design and SAMI, and to see these high schoolers that are applying for these schools at age 13 and 14 starting in their freshman year are quite impressive. And these are students that are highly invested in their art, they're invested in industrial design, they're invested in science and math. And so just to give for some perspective, because I'm there quite frequently, these youth are impressive. These students are very impressive. And I imagine students that would be applying for these youth positions somewhat in that same category. That's what I'm picturing in my head, at least. And so I just don't count them out because of their age. I have been very impressed in interviews for Tacoma School of the Arts with 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds, and they are asked to make a commitment to these schools, and so and they follow through. So I think that's just one perspective. I don't have one heartburn one way or the other versus 7 or 11, so I'm going to leave that to the will of the body. But I will say more flexibility is great. And I just think I agree with Councilmember Wood's echo of Councilmember Cunningham's comments regarding the higher education piece and, youth at 20, 21. I just want to clarify that doesn't prohibit a 20-year-old, 19-year-old, 20 from applying for a position on the commission just as an adult. We're just saying that this youth position would land in the 18 and under possibly for that category. or be 21, up to 21, correct? That's what we're debating. Okay. That's all I have, just clarification. I am thrilled that 21 is still considered a youth, so it makes me feel a little closer. Go for it.
I will tell you, in medicine, we classify up to the age of 21 as pediatrics.
Oh, I love it.
Okay.
There you go.
Let's go.
If you're looking for an official definition. With that said, thank you, Councilmember Grassi. Councilmember Cunningham.
Yes. So just to reiterate what we're talking about as it relates to the youth. So I know that you guys had mentioned about, just the connection with the school district. One thing to consider would be like, our recruitment process for this. We would have to really have a nice relationship with the school district and perhaps, incentivize this process for the youth. And I think that would sort of count out this whole 2-year versus 1-year thing, because I think that it would be a leadership commitment. So no different than being on ASB or being on anything else, school president, whatever. I think that getting the input from the school district would be ideal to figure out what the determination in the process would be for a student to be part of this. So I think that leaning in on that is going to be important, because commitment for young people is a little bit different than it is for adults, and they're going to want a resume build. I mean, Councilmember Grassi and I just did, AWC's scholarship process, and those are 2 seniors that are actively moving about the cabin. So I just imagine that if there was some connection to their, academic credentials, I think that would matter. So I think maybe there's a criteria that we would have to create for those young people. One, for the vetting process, because the way that we would recruit a young person for a commission wouldn't be the same as it would be like, go on the website and find out if you want to be a commissioner. That's not going to be the same process for them. So I think that, getting buy-in from the school district and figuring out if there's a category, that they apply for certain things. I mean, at Curtis, when you become a junior, you can apply for XYZ, or when you become a senior, you can now do this. So I think categorizing it in some aspects so that we're getting thoughtful contributors, I think is going to matter. So whatever that looks like, and perhaps getting their feedback on that will be key for us, because, we're going to need them to be able to share the experience and opportunity to begin with. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Cunningham, and Councilmember Boykin, please.
And my comments are just really reiterating that space that I think starting to become more crystallized for me, and maybe in the thought process of council as it considers all comments. But as I think about the youth space in particular, because that seems to be the distinction that at least keeps drawing me back in, the expectation of 2 years versus 1 year. What does that mean for particularly youth? Are we really trying to hold space for them to actually create opportunities for them to grow, lead, resume, may build, what have you? Or are we, if it isn't a both and, or are we looking at the expectation of we're really trying to position people who are seriously looking at the art and the ability for them to contribute, to offer additional experiences that can be helpful and even perhaps insightful advisory impacts to council. I think it can be a both and, but my concern is that I'm really trying not to limit it by saying that if it's a 1 year scenario only, I'm trying to encourage as many people that would come through to get an affirmation to move on, as opposed to people who are invested in how they want to contribute, how they want to show up in their leadership, and what it could mean if that is a passion of theirs. And I don't want to choose, I don't want to presume that I know that it's one or the other, but I do want to make sure that if in fact we're building something that can be a both and, that we have that full consideration. That is one of the reasons, candidly, that I lean toward the expectation of more than 7. Because if you had folks that were looking at opportunities to just move through, whether it's as a 1 year scenario, well, they got 11 other opportunities they can do where that's sort of supporting that. And if you got people who are invested in a 2 year commitment, then they recognize that the leadership opportunity and how they would contribute, they very well may, to Councilmember Figueroa's expectation, have a chance to actually begin and see the fruits of their labor. So I think it's an opportunity that suggests more thought, and I'm glad that I'm hearing from the council really thoughtful considerations about how the impacts might be as we consider this particular ordinance draft. That's all my comment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Boykin. Councilmember Figueroa.
Okay, let's see if we can finish up my thoughts here. Well, some great thoughts that brings it up, and that's about what Alicia said about the process or working with the school district, and that is the school district is much better suited to help us understand the transitions of kids and what they may want to do, what's going on, the schedules, and maybe terms and whatever. Maybe they have a whole different idea, but still the idea of what we want, that is participation. How we're looking at participation from that level of youth could be really distorted because we're not in that field 100% all the time. Maybe they have. Maybe we should work with them before we decide and say, hey, this is what we're trying to accomplish. Any thoughts, any feedback? How can we structure this to maximize it? And not only that, but also when it comes to selecting them, I think maybe it should be selected from the arts teacher or some principal or whatever, because they know those kids better than we ever will. And not only that, it's stimulating enough that they're applying or interviewing before a teacher or a principal or whatever. It's another before the city council and a mayor. That's really terrifying for a 14, 15, 16 or whatever year old. So it's food for thought. Maybe we should, give them get some feedback from the real source that may be able to help us.
Thank you, Councilmember Figueroa. I'm going to presume you were talking to Councilmember Cunningham when you said Alicia, just as we're on the record.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. No, Jack, I'm sorry. No.
I just have a couple, both comments and clarifications or requests for clarifications. One thing regarding the youth membership and the term, just based on our past experience with youth, which when we had youth in the Park Commission, it had some highs and lows, and ultimately we got to a point where we couldn't even get anyone to apply for it. So I am particularly just want to caution you on making sure we're making it as easy for people to apply and be part of the process. And to Councilmember Wood's point, I wouldn't want to preclude someone, let's say he's a high school senior or somebody that, even a junior or freshman that may not even want to look 2 years out. You could always look at, being a 1 to 2 year term or a 1 year term that the commission could extend a second year or something like that if you want to have availability, make it easier. But I think whatever you do with the youth, I think you want to make sure it is geared toward as easy and how much you can attract them, right? To make it as appealing as possible to participate. And hopefully they come in and they all want to be there for a long time, right? But that's one concern. Just to talk about the culture piece, it is, and Mayor Pro Tem did, she mentioned it, but I want to just kind of emphasize that it's a movement in all of the art commissions to kind of shift to, instead of just art commission, most of them are now calling themselves the Art and Culture Commission. And although I share your Councilmember Grassi's kind of thoughts of, okay, what does that mean? We want to define it, and for me, I like to define everything, but as the engineer in me. But it seems like most of them are kind of purposely vague on that. And ultimately, it'll come down to what the council wants to direct that group to do anyway. So it'll be, I guess, whatever the council feels is appropriate for either art or culture at the time. But not to say we couldn't go and look and find some definitions, but I think following the lead of the other groups, they do keep it purposely vague. A question, Mayor Pro Tem McCluskey talked about possibly having a liaison. Are you envisioning, is that something that you'd want to bake into the ordinance, or have that to be like a direction from council once the group is formed? I guess that
the latter.
Okay, I recommend that because that makes it once again more flexible and it'll able to evolve. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I do want to just mention, through our, to Councilmember Cunningham's point about the relationship with the art departments, I'm very encouraged, through our the Color It Up contest we've had with the various utility boxes where we coordinate with the youth and the art teachers. We've had very good participation and engagement from both the art teacher at the junior high, at the high school, as well as at Charles Wright. So I was really encouraged that, and I have no doubt that they'll all be very supportive and wanting to engage in this from their side too. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and also just if they're out there listening, send their appreciation of all the support they have given us over the years. And then I think that is everything I wrote down. So
okay. All right, Jack, thank you.
Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry. One more time. I'm so sorry.
No.
I just wanted to speak to Jack. I'm going to get in trouble tonight, I'm sure. But if I didn't say this, and I might have lost my train of thought, I did appreciate Mayor Pro Tem's description and definition of culture, and that definitely resonated with me and understand, and as Councilmember Wood said as well. So that clarification was very helpful for me, and I understand the direction. So if she could so eloquently describe that to every time someone clicks on it, that would be helpful. But I also just want to say one more time, as my counter to your point of you got great participation from Charles Wright and the school district with the Color It Up. No offense to our other wonderful commissions, I just don't think we've had a commission that has been so enticing and exciting to youth. Planning and economic development doesn't have the same zing, I think, to students as art and culture does when they're in it differently. So I have high hopes that we will have strong youth engagement, and I think this is the first time we've had this kind of commission to offer them. So I caution us from just going by the past. And to your point of Color It Up, that was such a great collaboration. So I'm excited for the future of it. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm so sorry. I'm good. And I'm done. I'm officially done.
I better look this side before I do it.
We're too scared to say anything now.
Oh, okay.
We're not saying anything.
Well, I just want to summarize then by saying to Matt and Jack, thank you so much for your work that you've done on that, for bringing that to council. Certainly thank you for the council for your input. I think there's a tremendous amount of wisdom up here on the dais, and from people's experience and knowledge and what have you. As I was listening to the conversations, the things that really kind of resonated with me is that art and culture really does reflect the life of the community, and what this commission and the products of this commission will bring to this community are immense, and I'm excited about it. I did want to comment on three things, if I might, that were brought up tonight. Number one, if I can find it on my notes here, has to do with the membership. Whether it's 7 or 11, maybe I'll throw out a zinger here and say maybe we consider 9 in that process if we needed to. But I like the smaller than the larger number. And my only rationale behind that, while we always want people's creative juices in organizations like this, has been that for the years that I've spent on the subcommittee of the council, looking for qualified individuals who met the standards of the council for the commissions that serve this city, it at times is really difficult to fill those positions. It's feast or famine. Sometimes we have more applicants than we have seats for, and other times we have a lot of open seats and not enough commission applicants, and so we're always opening it up to fill those seats. So I think to get the work done, having a smaller number to work with is going to be, I think, more preferable. And I also believe if we're going to add the youth council seat to it, maybe consider entertaining 9 then versus the 7 number. The other part that I'm always concerned about is being able to get a quorum, and I don't know how difficult it is sometimes to get a quorum in the commissions, but if you're really small, then it's tough to get a quorum, and if you're really large, it's really tough to get a quorum. So just food for thought on that one. With regards to the 2-year terms for the youth, I listened really intensely with what people were saying, but I will in this case really kind of lend my support to what Jack has said and cautioned the council. In the past, we had youth positions on commissions, and when we started that process, it was exciting. We had a lot of youth applicants. They wanted to participate. They were active. And then, if you remember, being an adolescent, it wasn't that long ago for most of us, that life happens. And so making that commitment for 2 years becomes a real challenge. And what we saw on all those commissions that we had youth participation is that it trickled down until it was non-existent on that. The thing that we learned out of that is if you're a senior in high school, if you still remember those days, they've got that community project that they got to complete, and it's a 1-year commitment to complete it, then you graduate, right? And so a lot of the applicants we saw at that time were those who were trying to complete that community commitment, but once they completed it, they were gone. So, I hate to say it, but I really do like the 1 year, and it can be renewed to 2 years. If that person as a commissioner is really loving their job, they can come back and say, hey, can I have a second year at it? And then certainly the council can say, yeah, you got 2 years on the council, and you could roll that way. So I just would say, really think about that one. The last comment I want to make is advisory, and I know it was taken out of the title, but I don't believe in hiding things or burying it in legislation. Our commissions are advisory, as the council members already shared tonight. When they're interviewing commissioners, they make it really clear these are advisory commissions. Their role is to look at those issues that the council really wants them to take apart and put back together, and then give us their best knowledge and their best advice, and then we get to chew on it up here. So I would, again, maybe strongly urge that we put advisory back into the title. I appreciated what you were going to, Mr. City Attorney, but yeah, I think it belongs back in there for that one. And with that said, I think everyone's comments were well said and their points well taken. So I think you have, for the most part, some guidance. There's going to be questions.
Mine's going to be longer.
You're going to have some questions coming back here, I'm sure. So with that said, what do you have?
Just real quick, on your suggestion on the 9 members, I want to make sure I understand. Are you suggesting we do like 7 regular members and 2 youth members?
It would be 8 regular, 1 youth.
No, okay, 8 regular and 1 youth. Okay.
Or there's an easier method.
I mean, it's a number. I think if the majority of the council's feeling 7 works, I'm okay with that. Okay. It just means you'll have 6 adults, 1 youth. Mm-hmm. If you had 9, you'd have 8 adults, 1 youth. Okay. And I'm not wedded to either one of those. But I'm not wedded to is 11. That's just tough. No.
When you get a chance.
Yes, ma'am.
I have heartburn over even numbers being on a voting body.
They're not even.
You said 8.
8 adults.
8 adults. 1 youth.
Makes it
9.
Yeah, but
unless you don't count that youth as a commissioner, and I don't think that was our intent.
No, but the concern, to align with Mr. Eklund, is that I was a park commissioner when we had a youth, and there was one really strong candidate that was amazing, and most of the others to just maybe stayed a year, maybe not. So then you come back to the even number body for voting. That would be more typical. So I really would caution us to get into that predicament where there's an even number on a commission, because the odd number, you can move forward your actions.
I think your point's well taken, with one exception, that no matter what number you pick 7, you're going to have an even number. Pick 9, you'll have an even number. Pick 11, you'll have an even number. So at the end of the day, we just have to decide what even number can we live with as a council. That's my point.
The youth could be advisory and not have a vote. I I don't want it to, because if you have, I know as a park commissioner, we had the 7, and one of them was a youth, and we had to place it in with an adult in order for us to have a full-bodied commission, which ended up not having a youth because we kept reappointing the commissioners. And so that was one of the reasons why we never really recruited for youth, because there wasn't any room for that particular person. So to not get into that predicament again, to go with the 7-body, and then the youth could be advisory. That way you'll always have a 7-body commission. Because if you go with a school year, then you're going to be missing a few months if they leave. So the unpredictability of that youth as a commissioner and the duration of even one full year of a youth in a commission seat, I think it would be more advisory capacity to invite them in, but still give them a certain sense of authority that their voice counts on it. Okay. So anyway, that's kind of my thought from experience.
Yeah. No, and I'm, that's why I made my comments. I was just acutely aware of those situations that we had where it was always a challenge to get the youth to be there. As time went on, it just got worse and worse to do that. I think your points are well taken from that perspective, but that brings a new idea that we would have this youth commissioner as not a voting member, but more of an ex officio member, which I think is a good thought. So with that said, Councilmember Wood, I think you had your hand up first.
I did. Thank you, Mayor. I'm just sitting here thinking about what the Mayor Pro Tem was talking about. And here's another idea, just because we don't have enough right now, is we have a 7-adult member commission with up to 2 for a total of 9 youth members. I'm leaning on, Councilmember Grazi's hope that there's going to be a lot of interest in this, and I think there will be more than there was in, say, the Public Safety Commission. As I recall, we had a heck of a time getting youth members involved with that one. And I could very easily see it, several highly qualified and interested youth from different schools who would be interested in becoming part of the commission. And if we go that route, I would like to see them be voting members as well, because I think that's part of the leadership experience and recognizing that it's their voice and their vote that matters. So I'm not going to kill the commission over this one. It's not a hill I want to die on, but I think it's expanding the youth opportunity and also expanding their leadership opportunities, I think would be very valuable. So that concludes my comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate those immensely. I would just, again, for the sake of conversation that we're having, if you have 2 voting members, one's not there, you're back to the even number again, and I don't know how that would work. I'm just tossing it out there for what it's worth. I think, Councilmember Figueroa, you had your hand up next.
Well, I think it's good that we clarify the direction, because this is going to be important. We start off in the right direction. For clarification, Mr. Eklund, for the Parks and Rec Commission, that's the only commission that we have for youth, right? Is that an advisory only, no vote? I believe it was a non-voting position, right?
When we had one, it was a voting.
It was a voting position. Okay. So if we continue that, and I agree with the mayor, and that is you're back to that, but I think that could happen with any council. Anybody. So I'm okay with that. At least we have a solid 7. I like the idea of 2, but maybe if we did go in that direction, maybe 1 year youth and a term and a 2-year term, so that we have a young person that maybe has, some of these young people really have plans. They know exactly what's going to happen and all that. So maybe we'll expand that to a 2-year term and a 1-year term for that person that says, well, I can't do 2 years, but I'll be happy to check things out for 1 year. So it's just food for thought. As far as voting, I can go either way. I think they're at that age, advisory is fun. Boy, you know, you give them a vote, they may turn out a little bit more because they understand what that is, and they're not stupid. So I shouldn't use that word. They get excited about when they have a say, whether it be at home or with their friends, I'm sure, in the council. So if they say, wow, I'm going to get a vote, an actual vote, maybe they'll show up. So, you know, there's a plus for that. So I don't know how this is going to be settled. At the end of the day, maybe you give us both choices and we take a vote.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Grassi, you had a comment?
No, I'm good, Mayor. Thank you so much.
Okay, just want to be sure.
Thank you.
Councilman Boykin.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to reiterate that whoever it is that we put in the commission, in order to ensure that we are not unintentionally silencing them or minimizing what their contributions ought to be, absolutely, they need to be voting members. And at the very least, it has, whether you're an adult or whether you're a youth that is learning, the expectation is the same. Position them so that the ideas do the fighting, and encourage them to be able to understand your idea and therefore support it or not support it, but absolutely ensure that they have a voice to express it. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I know the hour's waning on us. We still have one more item on our agenda tonight. What I'd like to do is just continue this in a study session. No, wait, I'll get to you.
Okay.
But I know you don't have clear lines in what direction you want to go to, though you may have some idea of that. So that's my recommendation, but Matt, you had something.
Yeah, has the unlucky one who gets to draft this and go through the notes. So let me at least kind of recap at least where I'm hearing council at in terms of where we're looking at potentially for next steps, and then there's a timing question in here too.
Gotcha.
For council. Where I think I'm hearing consensus amongst council is take the current draft ordinance with several changes. Those changes that I've identified is add culture to the scope. And we'll come up with some appropriate culture-y type language in the scope. Add advisory into the title of the name of the commission. There is a typo that Councilmember Wood caught. That's a cut and paste error. We'll fix that on the next go through. One change which I did catch as I was hearing the age discussion is to ensure whatever age or grouping that we put, make sure that is at the time of appointment, just to prevent age out scenarios. Where council's ultimately at is, are we at 7 members or at some other number of members? One suggestion I'll just throw out there, just as food for thought, I'm not expecting an answer on it tonight, recognizing timing, is if you did a 9 or some other number greater than 7, considering lowering the quorum, such that hypothetically, if it were 9 members, that 4 would constitute a quorum instead of a traditional 5. So you at least still have some flexibility in there. But what we can do is, based on the discussion, we can come back with it, because I think it's just that youth membership piece, and whether it's a 1-year term versus 2-year term, come back with a couple different model languages so that council has something more specific to non, and hypothetically bring it back for a vote. Or I don't know if council wants another study session on this or not, limited on those issues. Yeah. So that's ultimately the direction that I'm seeing and the path forward, but I'll defer it back to council.
I think because of the questions that have come up, and you've made some great points tonight, it would behoove us maybe to have one more study session with those recommended changes and then build a consensus around that.
Yeah.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, just one more question, because it's been a while since I've been a commissioner. When I was appointed, was there an expectation or in the criteria of when I accepted the assignment that if I missed X amount of meetings, then I would vacate my seat?
At the time, perhaps not. Currently, yes. Under your municipal code, there's a provision in the code. It is codified under UPMC 1.35030. Here's chapter and verse. Subpart D, removal of members. Members and liaisons may be removed by the city council. It says motion, and I think there's a word missing. Motion and affirmative majority vote. Positions shall be deemed vacated after a member is absent for 4 consecutive unexcused regular meetings.
Okay. Oh, I see.
And that was the original intent. We just never really enforced it, as I recall.
Right. Yeah.
But it is codified.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. I think you've got enough to work on. We'll see you on the next go-round. Let's go to item number 11, the council travel policy. Our city manager, Steve Sugg.
And I'm going to get an assist from our city attorney, Matt Kaiser, on this one. He drafted the memorandum, but I'll start out here. Council, we've got conference season is coming up, and Council has expressed a great interest in participating in a number of conferences, with some of those starting next month. I'm talking about the out-of-state conferences coming up next month. We've had some in-state, like City Action Days, which we had 3 members attend that conference down in Olympia. But if I'll call your attention to the last. Let me advance this. Here we go. I'm going to call your attention to this because this is a list of conferences that council has historically, historically meaning the past several years, has been attending. And as a result of that, we're running into a little bit of a problem at the staff level because we are, in order to support that, we need to have a policy that allows us to process those trips in an efficient way. And right now, the limits that the council placed on itself back in 2018 hamper that ability for you to attend these conferences, and part of it is just due to inflation. As individual council members, except for the mayor's position, you've been allocated an amount of $2,000 apiece each for that's for the full year. That won't get you outside the borders of Washington State to any conference. I mean, in order for you to attend the out-of-state conferences that you see on that screen, that's simply not going to be enough. $2,000 a year barely covers the limited number of meetings in state, like the AWC annual conference, plus other meetings and things. So we wanted to take a step back. Rather than drive it from the budget, let's drive the policy, the council travel policy, which needs to be updated. Again, it's 8 years old. It was 2018. That council policy, the basic guts of the council policy are fine. It's just that at the time there was dollar limits inserted, which really hamper your ability to be a full participant in these various conferences. So we would like to get an understanding of this from council, and Matt has a few thoughts as to maybe how we might be able to structure that policy, but we wanted to get your thoughts on that.
So as Steve shared a moment ago, you have a 2018 policy, the guts of which, at least from the staff perspective, seems sound. However, it is a council policy, so council is the final determiner of its own policies in that regard. And there are some aspects in here which are outdated. Looking at the policy, and a copy of the 2018 amendments is included in your packet, which were adopted after considerable discussion. There's probably 2 fixes that you could do, one or both in there, which I'll just kind of throw out there, and I don't want to take up too much time because I'm cognizant of the hour. Fix number 1 is, if we go back, who's controlling? You're controlling. All right. Adjust the numbers. The $2,000 for each council member specific fund was adopted on 2018 realization with some future proofing at the time. We're at 2026. Whatever future proofing with inflation and other council demands and needs, adjust accordingly. What those numbers are, I'll defer to council on what that may be. The second fix is when the 2018 policy was amended, the nature of the travel that council had identified was not as robust as it is now. The recommended fix would be to add language in there where, subject to available funds, conferences for which council is identified by consensus are of interest to all members of the council shall not be credited against whatever funds each council member has allocated. So that way, if you were looking at traveling to a national conference, you don't need to figure out, all right, each council member has 2,000 or whatever that new X dollar figure is. You just say it's coming from some other pot of money that's already subject to available funds, and call it at that. So with those thoughts and recognizing we've got 15 minutes left in the regular meeting, I'll be quiet and turn the matter back over to council.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And my intention is that we don't run over here, so do we have questions tonight? I'm sure people do. Councilmember Figueroa.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted just a little bit, because some of us were here and some were here in 2018, and that is, since that policy about these numbers here, I don't believe, or at least it was just the beginning of trying to be, we now have a policy to be more involved in regional and national leaderships, to be really involved and engaged. I forget the actual language, but we do have a policy on that. And that actually started just about the time we were doing this. We didn't know exactly where that was heading, to what level, and obviously, as you heard, it's robust now. But that's part of what leads to policy. Council members, some are gone now, some are still here, most of us, all of us are here, obviously, but it signaled that we needed, in order to put UP on the map and be recognized as leaders in the community and not be taking a back step like we do in the Puget Sound Regional Council and other parts, that we should do this. And of course, little did we know exactly how that was going to turn out budget-wise, so I think we just remember that. And of course, just I think it was always low in the 2000, because it was just the AWC. There's AWC conference, AWC finance conference, AWC legislative days. There's the Chamber of Commerce economic breakfast, the luncheon that they have. That's way over 2,000 all by itself, and we haven't even done. We're not even talking about other things that we do, even in state, much less everything else. And actually, that's why we approved the $100,000 for all 7 members. It was at that when we approved the $100,000 was for the purpose of making sure that all 7 council members, if they wish to attend the National League of Conference Summit, that there was money for that, and that was that pocket of money. Obviously, as we've gotten engaged with an NLC, here comes the National League of Conference, not only summit, but also council members have engaged in committees like Kent Keel. Now we have 2 other council members. We have folks engaging in the National League of Conference Congressional Conference. So I think that, and notwithstanding, we didn't include any increase of travel costs, which if you looked at the travel in 2018, what it is now, it's just 2 different pictures for hotels, everything. I just know that from my personal vacations. I can't believe what I'm paying compared to what I used to. So this is really super outdated. I think that I would like to see us talk about first about what is it that this council really wants our council to engage, to what level, and is it the value for this council as a whole and for our community. And that's how we pick, and not let the budget drive us first, and allow that decision to be made, and then say, okay, administration, please put together a budget and let us know if this is what we can afford. If not, tell us to what level we can afford, and then we'll adjust from there. Something like that. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Councilmember Figueroa. Councilmember Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, generally speaking, I agree with what Councilmember Figueroa was just saying, in that I think the council should determine what it is we want to support overall and whether we do that with just a resolution saying if you're going to NLC, AWC, these types of events, the travel will, subject to budget availability, will be approved. The part I just want to be careful about is that and I don't see anybody on this council doing this, but you never know what happens in the future. Nobody's taking, junkets to Europe or something like that somehow on the council dime without having the rest of the council having a vote in whether or not that's value added for the city. And so whether we have language in there that just says, the council needs to, approve not the specific trip necessarily, but the goal, the objective, the association we're involved with, something like that, I think might be value added.
The junk, I'm trying to avoid the word junket, but I'll roll with it. Just mirroring what you had, yes. Is whether it's to Europe or something else or some other trip. There's always that classic circumstance of one council member's trip for investigation and research is somebody else's waste of time. And a lot of the policy that you see in front of you is generally built on the recognition that each of you are 7 independently elected officials, each of you with your own independent interests, constituencies, research desires, etc. And at the end of the day, you're accountable to the electorate that put you here, and that there is a level of accountability has to each other, and then there's that budget process. So it's trying to make sure that those two are woven together in a coherent framework. So if you are to use your example going through Europe looking at stuff, you may say, hey, this is a really great use of city time, but who adjudicates that? Is it the voters at the next job interview, which we call an election, or is it in some other setting? So just recognize that as you're going through the policy discussion and any other appropriate changes.
Thank you for that clarification.
Councilman Boykin, and then I'm going to throw in a comment if I might after you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just affirm that addressing the problem that you put in front of us was the expectation of, in the spirit of what we've been doing and the expectation of how we would want to go about doing it. We've got antiquated policy, and the expectation about fixing that. One or two of those options that you offered up, as far as I'm concerned, actually addresses that. Subject to funds availability is more than fine, or the expectation of, in the spirit of serving clearly and intentionally from the aspect of being on the dais. The conferences that are in front of us that I'm really curious about, that sort of preempted the expectation of exactly why the policy is antiquated from a travel standpoint, is twofold. The inflation issue that has already been offered, but the expectation of engaging in this expectation of what service is, and to ensure that if we were looking at policy that's been also created for our understanding of being more of a regional, impactful city, and the resource that we want to be both individually and collectively to that end matters. I think it distinguishes the City of University in a fashion that's important. I also think the residents and the citizens deserve that type of expectation and wanting from its council. Having said that, again, the last thing I would think is that we would need to put in any type of safeguard that isn't here, but the impression of how we would want to support the interests to serve zealously and to serve intentionally for the people that we are invested in, and hopefully have clearly invested in us through our electability, I think is important. And the only thing I want to do is ensure that we are consistently making that transparency and that availability to every council member clear for 2026 and forward. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Thank you very much, Councilman Boykin. I just wanted to add a couple of things since we're having a conversation here, and maybe this will stimulate more conversation in the 8 minutes we have left, and my timekeeper to the left will tell me when we get there. One is I want to really reiterate what you said, and that is no council should ever have the right to censor a council member if they're doing work on behalf of their constituency. We're 7 elected people, and we all have different people, different communities within our community that we represent. So I draw the line in my head of that. No council should ever tell you you can't go if you're doing something on behalf of your community and the people that elected you here. The second thing is, I know we're always trying to budget and make sure we've got funds to cover that budget, and we've done really well so far with that. But for the sake of conversation, I would like to throw out that the council maybe identify those conferences that we've attended, and you have a good track record to know how much we've spent on each one of those trips. And I know right now NLC, AWC, and NATOA are the ones that jump to my head right now. I'm sure there may be a couple others I missed.
Chamber of Commerce.
And Chamber of Commerce. I don't remember traveling. Oh, yeah, the Washington. Correct. Thank you. On those. So we know what those costs are, and if we're having to look at a number, then maybe use that as a baseline for council to say this is what we know. And then having with that, if you are traveling to something additional that is not customary that we do, but it's in the best interest of the city, it's in the best interest of your constituency, have a caveat in there that allows you to still submit that bill and have it paid through the general fund. And then if we saw it, we will never see it on this council, but if a future council were to see an abuse of that, they can certainly go and amend at that time. But I think that is a baseline, I think, for us to look at, and if that's amenable, we could run with or a variation on theme there. But that's my initial thoughts here.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem McClaskey.
On these collective conferences and meetings, that's a pretty comprehensive grouping that we could probably get an approximate dollar figure for. So on 4.3.1, where you have the allocated amounts, are we proposing to increase all those amounts by
what I was by
putting the cost of all these meetings into each council member?
You could do that, however.
Yeah.
However, here's the however, which is you could do that. Here's the how you could do that, just to answer the question, though. If your expenditures, I'm coming up with a number that divides by 7. Let's say annual expenditures is $49,000. Divided by 7, you could say everyone gets $7,000 to figure out how you wish to spend for which of these conferences on the list. You could do it that way. Or you could say those conferences which council has identified, they're covered subject to available funds. The number you're referring to in 4.3.1 refers to what the mayor was speaking about for individual ideas of particular attention, which currently is at the $2,000 figure for most members of the council.
So this will be more discretionary for council members.
You can call it discretionary. You can call it. I'm getting to know. I'm ready to call it somewhat discretionary.
I'm looking at it and go, well, that's my budget. If I want to do this, then this comes out of the general fund. But if I want to do something else, this is my budget, and if it comes over the budget, then I need to get additional proof.
I think that's a discussion that the 7 of you need to probably clarify here.
I need to clarify. Right, exactly. Yeah. That's because you're putting finite numbers there, but then then we're talking about another pot of money over here that is enough for all council members to do these attendances if they so choose. So, and then I'm also hearing verbiage where, well, if a council member wants to go to Boston because there's something cool there that they want to learn, or a conference, 2,000 isn't going to cut it. So
raise the number.
Raise the number. So how do we want to proceed as to that? The pot of money that everyone can go to the pot of money that individual ones has a discretionary role to spend. And obviously they'll need more because we know $2,000 isn't going to buy much. How much do we want to up that is more realistic, or do we even want to go with having finite numbers, or just having a list of conferences and outside of that there's there's council discretion. You know, I'm just asking the question because of how, as a council member, if I want to do something off the list, and it's more than the $2,000, what is the process to go forward with that? Because I know I'll need 2 signatures, city manager, mayor, but do I need other buy-in for me to do it, to expend something that's in the budget that is not aligned in the budget or defined? So that's my confusion right now.
Okay. Two things I need to do right now. I really don't want to do this, but we will. I'll take a motion to extend the meeting 15 minutes.
Second.
If we have to go beyond that, then we'll just continue it in the study session, if that's okay with everyone. I just
Second.
want to be respectful. Is there a motion?
He did.
No, I said I'll entertain it.
Oh, excuse me. Make a motion to extend the meeting.
Thank you. It's been
for
moved.
15.
Second.
Thank you. It's moved and properly seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We'll continue to 9:15. If I may just jump in, and I know there's others that are waiting to weigh in on this one. I just want to restate what I said and maybe make it a little bit clearer if I try from a different angle here. My proposal is we just zero out 4.3.1 as far as funds go, and replace it with asking the staff to take the conferences that we go to, and we can add to it if the council wants to do that. But you take AWC, you take NLC, you take Washington to Washington, and NATOA, and they know what those costs are because we've all been going there. And then sum that up and put it back into the slots here. And this is what your funds are for the year. So let's say if they gather the sum of all our travel and then they average it out, if it comes out, let's say I'm going to say roughly 30,000, and that's probably in the ballpark, then all these lines say 30,000. Then if you're traveling outside of these conferences that we typically go to, for example, I'm sure there's a group that's going to the NLC Small Cities Conference or going to the Congressional City Conference. Those are really kind of outside our norm, or the MRSC trainings. Then those type of conferences, the council could put their request and it's going to get approved because you're doing it for your constituency, right? Or for your betterment of yourself as a council member. Those can be pulled out of the general fund, and not charged against your monies here. Does that make it clear now?
What you're saying, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm throwing out there for council to entertain.
So,
okay.
Do I have the floor? Or?
I guess, no, you have the floor. I'm sure.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
So I have now $30,000 in my slot. So for all the AWC and what you have defined gives me $30,000, but not for the NLC or any additional national or international travel that may come up.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying the council can determine what conferences they want to include and then tie monies to. But, if there's just one-off conferences up there, that's where you're going to ask for the additional money.
My full question, I have $30,000. If I choose not to go to AWC and use the $30,000 for something else, and that's my choice and my will. Don't have to get it approved, get a second signature, and I'm off. Just have to justify to my constituents and do a report out on the dais.
In my opinion, that makes sense. But I have 5 other colleagues here who may disagree with that. And I know they're all chomping at the bit. Councilmember Grassi actually had her hand up first.
I'm good.
You're good. Okay, Councilmember Figueroa.
I don't think that there is a 30 or a number because these costs vary every year. Planes, whatever. I mean, that was one situation where Councilmember Boykin, for a personal reason, not personal business or whatever, couldn't make it at the last minute, and the flight cost twice as much. things like that happen. We have certain workshops that cost money. Some members take it, some members don't. So it's not so much that we assign a budget to each person. It's just that these are the ones who are going to an associated cost to it, whether it be extra workshops that cost money or something that's legitimate that the council member couldn't do, like couldn't make it and they had to rebook it. That's all associated. And I think that administration is up to them. It's not up to us to figure out what kind of money is set aside for knowing the circumstances. Is always saying to them, you figure it out, but this are the circumstances that you're going to be under to fund. And if there's an issue, come to us. But at this point, we assume that unless you come to us, there's funds for that. I think that you make the point, Mayor, and that is that if it's outside of this, at least make it aware to at least the Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem, and for starters, and if they think, we trust them, if they say, hey, this sounds, like it's part of your constituency and work for the city, that would put some value, we support that. If there's a little rebuttal there, then bring it to the council in one way or another that's appropriate. And I think that's really as simple as it gets.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilmember Wood?
Just a thought, because I appreciate the idea that we're elected officials and all adults and we can, represent our constituencies as we need to. But then there's just the budgeting aspect of this. I think the two-part solution, which I think is what people have been saying, but I'm going to rephrase it in my own words to make sure I understand correctly, is that we have X dollars, whatever that dollar amount is we know we're going to spend on our regular conferences. And then there's another dollar value. Let's just say the first one's $50,000 and the next one is, say, another $50,000. I'm pulling these out. But that if during the course of a year our travel expenses have exceeded that total budget of $100,000, that the total budget comes back to council for, so we have some level of accountability as a group of where our travel money is going. Whatever that cap is, I have no idea what the right answer is, but that there's just a check in there somewhere.
I like that. Thank you. Councilmember Boykin.
And I would just reiterate that the expectation for ensuring that we've got the support and the flexibility to be responsive to the interests that presumably were only raised in front of us because of serving on council is something that is proactively supported and clear for staff to be able to provide the efficiency behind it. I think the biggest challenge that we can unintentionally create is to have staff even more unclear about how we would want them to respond for the requests that would come in that need to be undergirded by travel support. These conferences and the intent behind the ways in which we might move on behalf of the City of University Place, I think would align pretty clearly. And if they raise enough issue for staff to be unclear or a council member to be unclear, then I think it's just a conversation. But I'm just surprised that we wouldn't be able to clearly ensure between the one or two fixes that you have been offering us that all the things that we've talked about as well as the things that we haven't talked about would be taken care of under the umbrella of one of the two suggestions that you offered initially. So either way that you like to move based upon the expectation of the spirit of the council, I'm 100% okay with. And if there is a mechanism that is necessary that's coming out of we need to have an additional check and balance, if you could afford us that in there as well, I'm just of the opinion that this is something that we've already solved. We just haven't put it into clarity for this council in this moment yet. And that's my comment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Seeing that there's no more comments for the evening, I think you kind of have an idea of where the council may want to go or may not want to go. But I'd like to see maybe another study session with some recommendations on that, and then we can put that up for council to chew on and kind of roll from there.
Yeah, I'll talk with our in-house team. I'm hearing two different themes sort of emerging, and it may be that you see an A and a B version come out, or at least a couple different recommendations.
Okay. All right, seeing that there's no further business before council tonight, we shall declare this adjourned.
Thank you.